Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. 90-Day Fiancé. Brandon's mom Betty asks Julia to go back to Russia. Brandon's mom, Betty, had a dramatic meltdown over Brandon and Julia's vacation plans on 90-Day Fiancé. She even shared her wish to send her daughter-in-law back to Russia. The TLC star is blowing things out of proportion about being blindsided by her son's vacation plans. Betty accused Julia of manipulating her son and making him hide things from her. She has never been on the Trubkina's side. It looks like the TLC star is feeling insulted for not being able to peek into Brandon's married life. Betty is well known for lacking boundaries and controlling her son's life. She doesn't like to see him making his own life decisions and maintaining boundaries. What really went down? Why did Betty say all this? 90-Day Fiancé star Brandon Gibbs often received backlash for being a mama's boy. He failed to maintain boundaries with his parents and support Julia. The reality celeb has been forcing Julia to start a family with him for a long time. Julia has been delaying her pregnancy because of all the drama in her marriage. She was shocked when her Emil tried to comment on her biological clock. However, fans were shocked when Brandon's parents tried to accuse the Russian native of creating a wedge between them. A recent teaser showed Ron accusing Julia of distancing Brandon from his parents. Betty also agreed with her husband. Brandon began crying instead of standing up for his wife. Hence, fans accused the American native of acting like a little tch ass. Betty and Ron didn't support Brandon and Julia for their vacation plans. They tried to make them understand that they should not put their future at risk. Recently, TLC stars visited Brandon's home to learn about his plans. But they were in huge disbelief when they learned he had already quit his job to enjoy some time with his wife. The reality TV star wasn't sure when they would return from the trip. Betty and Ron were in disbelief that Brandon had already left his job. They wondered what if things fell apart and the money won't come from Julia's house in Russia. Ron was extremely mad at his son for making such foolish decisions. He stated, "I can't believe we spent our lives teaching Brandon to plan, do the right things, and think logically." The 90-Day Fiancé star shared his disappointment with him in the next scene. He felt it was time for him to focus on his career. Betty lost her calm when she found out Brandon and Julia had already booked their tickets, and they planned to leave in a couple of days. She couldn't believe the pair didn't even ask them for once. Hence, Julia lost her calm and suggested that her in-laws should take a step back from their family. However, Betty corrected her that they were all a family. She snapped, "If you don't feel we're all a family, maybe you do need to go back to Russia." Fans slammed Betty for overstepping boundaries and being so controlling. They felt she and Ron should give the couple space to learn from their mistakes. Keep coming back to for more Julia and Betty's drama. Life on the farm was supposed to get easier once Julia Trubkina and Brandon Gibbs finally made it down the aisle. No more separate bedrooms. No more strict curfews. No more awkward family-planned birth control appointments. But if there's one thing 90-Day Fiancé fans know, it's that peace never lasts long in Dinwiddie, Virginia. Especially with Mama Betty lurking around every corner like a hawk in a pastel cardigan. And this time? She may have crossed the line once and for all. According to what insiders are calling the Gibbs family blowout, tensions between Julia and Betty have escalated beyond chore lists and bedtime rules. Betty, who has always seen Julia less like her daughter-in-law and more like a temporary farmhand with eyeliner, has reportedly issued an ultimatum so extreme that fans are still clutching their pearls. "If you can't respect this house, maybe you should go back to Russia." Yes, she said that. The straw that broke the pig pen. The argument allegedly began over, what else? Farm duties. Julia, who has made it abundantly clear since day one that she did not come to America to shovel goat droppings at 6 a.m., refused to participate in morning feedings. She wanted a gym membership, a social life, and maybe, God forbid, a hobby that didn't involve chasing alpacas. Brandon tried to mediate, but as usual, his conflict resolution strategy was less strong husband and more deer in headlights. And Betty? Well, she did what Betty does best. Cranked the passive aggression dial all the way to nuclear. This isn't a vacation. This is a family. Witnesses claim that Betty launched into a speech that sounded half intervention, half military briefing. She reminded Julia that Brandon had grown up working on this farm. That chores were not an option. That everyone contributes, even if they came from across the world in search of love and better skincare options. Julia, never one to stay silent, allegedly snapped that she married Brandon, not the cows. She didn't trade her old life in Krasnodar just to become Cinderella with barn boots. That's when Betty delivered the line that sent shockwaves through the household. Maybe Russia would suit you better. Brandon. Human Switzerland. As always, Brandon stood caught between his fiery wife and helicopter mother, holding a mug of lukewarm coffee like it contained the answers to life. Insiders say he attempted to defuse the fight with a tragic, half-hearted, "Come on, let's just calm down." Spoiler. No one calmed down. Fans react. Betty needs her own visa interview. Social media immediately divided into two passionate camps. Team Julia. She didn't immigrate to tend goats. That's not a marriage. That's free labor. Imagine telling your immigrant daughter-in-law to go back home because she wants basic boundaries. Clown behavior. Team Betty. If you live under someone's roof, you respect the rules. Julia knew what she was marrying into. Chickens and all. Meanwhile, Team Brandon doesn't exist because no one believes he's capable of forming a team. Can this marriage survive Mama Gibbs? Julia has hinted in past interviews that she's this close to dragging Brandon into the nearest U-Haul and escaping farm life for good. She wants city lights, nightclubs, maybe a pole fitness class. Not rooster alarms and surprise vegetable harvesting at dawn. But Brandon has spent his entire existence under Betty's careful surveillance. The man didn't even know how to whisper until season 8. If Betty is drawing immigration lines in the sand, will Brandon finally choose? The final question. Is this just another Betty blow-up, destined to end with a teary group hug and a casserole? Or is Dinwiddie Farm officially too small for two queens? Because one thing is clear. Julia is done being the farm girl she never applied to be. And if Betty keeps pushing, she may find herself feeding those animals alone. Stay tuned, because something tells us this barnyard battle is only getting started.